For me, I really believe that behaviors are just symptoms. They're just branches. They're not the root issue. They're just fruit, as it were. And there's always, always a story under the story of the unique individual that we're journeying with. And when I journey with individuals, what's really important for me is to get to the beliefs that are driving those unconscious beliefs that have been woven and embedded into sometimes their body for decades, that are presenting just automatically. When we can get to those stories and we change the story, we change our life.
Welcome to the Butterfly Event Podcast. I'm your host, Heather Hewett, published author and double board certified traditional naturopath with over 21 years of experience in naturopathy, clinical nutrition, health, and life coaching. I wanted to say, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean the world to me. So I've been interviewing individuals I have witnessed who have special or extraordinary effects on individuals that they help or come in contact with, or even on me. They practice what they preach, and they do so with empathy and respect, which are two of my values. The coach I'm about to interview today, Shay Williams, is absolutely my favorite coach I've ever worked with or known. Shay is a certified health and life coach, niching in habit and behavior change. She's a root cause trauma-informed coach with a particular focus on nervous system health. And she's also a certified functional nutrition counselor. And she approaches the person holistically and comprehensively, which I love and I myself do. She loves helping people become who they've uniquely been and need to be and want to be and created to be. That is what drives her. So join me as I interview Shay about her passions, about what drives her and what is behind her unique gifts, and working with individuals to reach their highest potential. Hello. So Shay, I am so excited about this. I am thrilled. I couldn't wait to get up this morning because you have been someone that has a special place in my heart. We've worked together a couple of times, two different firms, and I miss you, and I'm so glad that what a blessing to be able to interview you on this podcast and just say welcome. So welcome.
Oh, hey, thank you so much. Good to
So
be here.
let's start with an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could be any superhero, what would it be?
Oh, this is such a fun question, Head, because there's so many options out there. And I know because we've known each other for quite a while, so you'll totally understand my answer on this. But I tried to be serious, and then I tried to be funny, and I was like, actually, where do I fit in on this one? But actually, I had to think about character and values based. I had to think really hard about, if I was a superhero, who would I want to show up as and be known as? And for me, it's all about characters and values. So, the more kind of serious but fun side is I'm a big lover of integrity and selflessness and empathy and compassion and honesty and transparency and humility and all those. So you're going to laugh at this one, okay? But without a shadow of a doubt, hands down, it has to be Captain America. Ta-da!
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And what is the quality or values that you appreciate the most?
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? And I think in our line of work, these really do play a huge part. I just love the kindness and the honesty of Captain America.
Yes.
Just the kindness and the selflessness and the empathy. I mean, there's so many, but yeah, the kindness and the honesty, those are biggies for me, really.
I love it. I love it. And they say we value, so we kind of gravitate toward people that have the same or similar values as
Yeah.
us. So everything that you mentioned reminded me of you.
Oh,
Humility, transparency, kindness, honesty, empathy, all of those things you have and possess and value. So that's interesting that that happened. And he's like one of my favorites too, for sure,
well, there we go.
especially in the Marvel movies as
Yeah.
well. This same thing. And he was in integrity
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
right?
That's it. That's
So
it.
that's awesome.
There
That's
we go.
awesome. So we have that in common.
There we
So
go.
just to kind of give the audience a background, Shay and I worked at a couple of different firms, and there were recovery groups, in particular around food addiction. And Shay just would light up Zoom. Let me say that, because we didn't physically in each other's space because you live across the world.
I do.
But we were on Zoom. It was a Zoom online. There were two Zoom online communities that we worked together in. And wow, you would light up the room, your wisdom, your compassion. And I was just so drawn to not only the authenticity and honesty, but the kindness, humility, and empathy that you possess. And you have never disappointed, I have to tell you, and working with you, you've always been the same.
Oh.
There wasn't any self-centeredness or selfishness or anything involved where it was about you more than anyone else. And I really admire that, Shay. So thank you for coming on here today and being on the podcast. So let's get started. What are you the most passionate about, my friend?
Oh, yes, definitely, my friend. Oh, Heather, we've known each other for a while, so thank you for sharing those really kind, things about me. And it really is fun to be able to do something like this with a friend because, we can just really share hearts. And you'll know this, but for the sake of our listeners, Heather, I am so passionate about living life on purpose. I really, really want to see people becoming all they're created to be. That is one of my life's missions. And as I share a little bit later, because for so long it wasn't like that for me. There was a lot of no purpose and lifelessness. And so for me to be able to work with a human being who I see as precious, unique, and really just marvelous, to be able to work with them and see them become everything that I believe that they've been created to be, just absolutely, I spring out of bed for that. So living life on purpose, uniquely and wonderfully. So
Yes. And I can see that and feel that, and it comes through in your work. I just love that. And just even in your interactions with people. I know I was going through, when we were working together at one particular firm, I was going through something really heavy. And you were right there. I know God used you. You reached out to me. You said, hey, do you want to meet? And we met, and I talked, and you just helped talk me through it. You really did. And you showed such gentle compassion and empathy. And it was like I was on a path. I needed some more light. And there you were with the lantern and helped me down that path. So thank you so much. And I know that you do that with your clients as well. So what a bright light you are. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, I would love to. So my story, I'm going to kind of try and just sort of succinctly tell it. But first of all, before I kind of dive into a little bit, I just want to say here for our listeners and for anyone that maybe does know me, I really want to honor my parents, my primary caregivers, first and foremost. They did the best, and I think a lot of us know that have done the deep work of healing, know that our caregivers predominantly do the best that they know how, even though they've got their own stuff that they're, journeying through. So I grew up in a number of different places. We moved around a lot as a young person. So there was a lot of uncertainty in my world, and certainty is one of our core human needs. So there was Not a lot of that in my life. And I was always searching for meaning, for purpose, adventure. Adventure is one of my core values. I ask
Mm-hmm.
why a lot. I'm a very curious person. Apparently, why was one of my first words. Mom would often tell me, So, but because of all this uncertainty and moving around and sort of tearing away from friendships, we'd settle and then we'd move again and all that, it was very traumatizing for me. And so into my early teen years, I started down a road of just real self-destruction, reaching for different painkillers. Fast forward a number of years, and Heather, you'll know a lot about this. That's how we've ended up in different forums, helping coach others through things. I ended up in a multiple addiction, self-destructive path, which nearly ended my life. But thankfully, God intervened. I have a faith. I know you're a person of faith as well. And I really believe that in my darkest hour, God reached in and said, nope, not today, as it were, and that, as well as my faith and willingness to say, okay, pulled me out. And then a number of years later, as I was on a journey of healing, my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, which was just a real shock. And I was able to fly backwards and forwards a number of times over 6 months to South Africa. I was living in the UK at that point, just to be with her as she was passing and all of that. But it was a really painful time of my life, Heather, just to witness it and to be so out of my control. I had the privilege of being with her when she did pass away. But in all of that, I decided in my heart that I never wanted to see anybody else go through that. And that paired with my background, I wanted to see my mess become my message. And from that space, I started pushing doors to train and certify in different areas. And from that followed certifying as a health and life coach. From that, that's where I ended up meeting you in different roles, was, addiction recovery, particularly food recovery, addiction in that sphere. More recently, I've certified as a functional nutrition counselor, and I also focus a lot on nervous system health and regulation around habit and behavior change. So, yeah, that's kind of me in a little nutshell there. But many, many, many years of life coaching with people as well. So, yeah.
That is a wonderful background. It really is. And I'm so sorry you went through that with your mom, but and it sounds like you're just an amazing daughter, to be there with her, and I could hear the love.
Yeah.
I really can. I can feel it. And you use that, and I love how you said, make my mess my message. You use that to give you impetus and momentum into doing what you're doing with working with people today.
Yeah.
That is just brilliant.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. It really is. Beautiful. So when working with individuals that want to make a behavior change or some type of transformation, what is the most important element to doing so? Why do you think that, and why?
Yes, I love this question. So, yeah, at the core of what I do is habits and behavior change. And that comes out in a lot of different sort of approaches and trainings that I've had, as mentioned. But Heather, as you'll know, but for our listeners, my core foundations that I coach from all the time is that our beliefs form our identity. Our identity forms our behaviors, and our behaviors form our habits. So I'll just say that again. Our beliefs form our identity forms our behaviors, and our behaviors form our habits. Habits at the end of the day are simply automated behaviors really showing up. And for me, I really believe that behaviors are just symptoms. They're just branches. They're not the root issue. They're just fruit, as it were. And there's always a story under the story of the unique individual that we're journeying with. And when I journey with individuals, what's really important for me is to get to the beliefs that are driving, those unconscious beliefs that have been woven and embedded into sometimes their body for decades, that are presenting just automatically. When we can get to those stories and we change the story, we change our life. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. That is so beautiful. That's why you're so successful when you work with people,
Mm.
because you're getting to these core issues.
Yeah.
And I know some of this has to do with the brain, but you have put a huge emphasis on the nervous system and body.
Yeah.
I feel that we do a disservice when we just work on just the top down approach,
Yeah.
just with the brain, not just all about the brain.
Yeah.
The body keeps score, that's where it's stored,
Yeah.
you know, in all its cells and in the fascia and organs and all of that. And the Chinese have said that for thousands of years.
That's right.
And I just love that you get to the root, because I know we talk and had that in common about the identity-based work and how important that is.
Yeah.
Because identity drives behaviors, doesn't it?
Right.
And as you mentioned, at the end of the day, it's all about habits.
That's right.
That's what it's about. So,
right.
And the stories that are behind it. And
that's right.
So beautifully said, Shay.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. So what is the biggest misconception when it comes to making changes with food and just diets in general?
Yes, good question. This is something I fell into the trap I fell into for many years until I didn't. There's no quick fix. Diets do not work, right? Diets do not work. They might work short term, but if we're looking at long term, deep transformational change, diets are never going to work. There is no quick fix. What's taken decades sometimes isn't going to happen overnight. How I wish it could. But we'd miss so much gold in there. And, you know, when we look at diets, any sort of restrictive thing, it's deprivation based. And I know that you'll know this, Heather, that is not helpful to our nervous system. You know, our nervous system, our brain is, you know, it's a copy paste machine. It wants to keep us fixed into the here and now. It doesn't want us to move into anything unfamiliar. It wants to keep us in familiar, because anything that is change related to that limbic system is going to be seen as danger, as a threat. It's unfamiliar, even if it's better for us. So we want to go really low and slow and understand that this is a journey. Okay, and not from a deprivation, not a quick fix. Another thing that's really important for me that I've seen over a number of years is to work with frameworks, not protocols. Okay, frameworks.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
You're speaking my language.
Yes, there we go. I know. And why? Because we're working with a unique individual. What's good for one is not always good for the other. You know, we've got to approach the unique story, the unique person, the unique whole being that's in front of us, and listen for the story. I often say that the solution's in the problem. The solutions are in the story. So no quick fixes, not deprivation, frameworks, individual, unique stories.
Awesome. Could you give an example of how, if someone came to you, how that would work?
Yeah,
and what
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. So a number of years ago, I had an amazing, I mean, all my clients are amazing. I just love them to bits. But I had this particular client come to me, and when folk initially come to me, there's a 3-month journey that we do as a base one. I can do tailored ones, but this one's a very gentle process. And their initial sort of goal that they wanted to work with alongside weight loss was to let go of alcohol. It had a real hold on them. And after a few weeks, when we started to do deeper diving into beliefs, I had to ask this client a question, because it just felt like the whole sort of alcohol story was ramping up. And I just felt led to ask them, are you prepared that this might take longer? You know, are you prepared that this might take longer? Well, we ended up journeying for a couple of years together. Completely different personnel, but when they realized that this was actually, and they were willing to do the deep work that had got them to where they were that day, at that time, everything shifted for them. They released themselves from the pressure of a quick fix, Now the story is completely different. Have an absolutely transformed person, free, not because of me, but it's the process, it's them, you know. Yeah, so that's one of a few stories which really jump out for me. Yeah.
I love that. I that's one of the reasons we're so like on the same page with this. I used to, people came to me, okay, we got to get into the food. We got to do this first. We got to do this. And what I had learned at my time at the last place that I was at, and working with different people and going through the somatic trauma certification at the same time,
Uh-huh.
I recognized, I said, you know what? We have to go about this gently. We have to get
Yes,
permission from their body and their mind first before we just jump in. So
absolutely.
when you started having within 3 to 6 sessions, people would stop their binge eating, they would stop
Hmm.
their alcohol. I was blown away doing this approach, very similar to what you're doing. And some people, it may take longer because they've
Yeah,
had this for decades, or maybe
yeah,
their constitution is different,
yeah,
and we respect that. But what I am seeing, because I'm getting clients coming to me now,
yeah.
when doctors prescribe specific protocols
Mm,
for health issues,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I am seeing the same end result every
Hmm.
time.
That's
There's
right.
problems. There,
Yeah.
and I know one of the doctors that trained me, I see him a couple times a year for maintenance.
Hmm.
And when I came to him, I told him about two specific diets, extreme diets that I was doing.
Hmm.
And I thought that that was the way, to get back to. He says, no. He said he has had hundreds of people come to him on these specific elimination, extreme
Yeah,
elimination diets, and
mm,
it trashed their adrenals, it
yeah,
trashed their
yep,
thyroid over
yeah,
time, it trashed. And so,
yeah.
what let me know that a protocol is a diet,
That's
and
right.
diets don't work long
No.
term, because they create more
Yeah,
problems and
yeah,
consequences
yeah,
along the way. And really, when it comes down to it, all of us, no one on the planet has the same gut microbiome that you do. It's as
absolutely.
unique as a fingerprint and a snowflake. So
Yeah,
you go to a doctor that puts you on a specific protocol, they're not
yeah,
respecting that. They don't know biochemistry
no.
then. And if it's just for 4 weeks, fine. But if it's something
Oh,
long term, it's dangerous and it's going to cause some issues. So,
absolutely.
likewise, what you're talking about is going in through the emotional part, getting in deep inside,
Yeah,
getting into those stories, because we're only as sick as our secrets and our
yeah,
stories and beliefs. People can
yeah,
have the most perfect diet, as I've seen people
yeah,
do for many, many years, and still get cancer,
yeah,
still get other health problems. And oftentimes it has to do with root causes of what
yeah.
you're talking about,
That's
what
right.
I am talking about.
Yeah,
And that's what's important. And sure, keeping ultra processed food out is important, but it
sure.
is like 1/4 of what
Yeah,
needs to be looked at and done.
absolutely. Absolutely, Heather. 100%.
Yeah,
It's just a part. It's not the whole story, because we're a whole person, body, soul, and spirit, aren't we? At the end of the day, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes. There's
yeah,
so much more to it. Yes.
yeah,
So, what
for
is the
sure.
biggest misconception about behavioral change?
Yeah, big question. So, similar to my previous answer, again, is that it's going to happen overnight. Okay. And being able to come to a place of peace, that this is a
Hmm.
long term thing. Often,
Hmm.
and I'll have clients from time to time will come to me, and I'm sure you have the same. They will come with what they want, but then end up
Hmm.
getting what they need. Because often what we want and what we need is very, very, very different. Deep
Yes.
transformational change is a long-term identity shift game. At the core
Yeah.
of it, deep change, transformational, long-lasting change is actually identity shift change. It happens on an
Yes.
identity level. It happens where our core beliefs are honored and valued. It happens where our core needs are honored and valued, where our personal values are known, where we find our way back to heart, where we learn to be someone who ... It's about becoming a person who X, Y, Z, whatever those are, not things that we do. It's who we are. It just becomes part of who we are. So it's an identity shift that actually happens rather than just something we do, as it were. Yeah.
That is so crucial. Wow. I'm so glad you shared that, because even it's so true, because we have to feel confident and be in our power around our identity. Otherwise, even being part of a recovery group, because I saw people struggle in recovery groups. I actually have people coming to me for help from these recovery groups that I was a part of, that what's missing is they don't know who they are.
That's right.
And it's so important to do this identity work, because you can be part of a recovery group, but that doesn't bode for the other hours of the day that you have to exist in this world. You have to be with your family. You have to be with your friends. And if you don't know who you are and you're not grounded in that, you're not going to do well with whatever addiction or behavior that you need to change.
That's right.
So we need to be able to stand on our own if possible. And that comes from this identity work.
And can I just add to that as well, Heather? I love what you said there. To add to that, I am very careful about using language of I am an addict, I am an alcoholic, I am ... I'm very careful, because when you're taking on that identity, you can't be an addict and someone who's free at the same time. You're going to have this cognitive dissonance. There's going to be this war that is going to be physically torturous to your brain and your very being going on in you. You can't be two things at once. So again, it's about the language of, sure, I might have had alcohol use disorder or, struggles and chat, but I am free. I am a person who is XYZ, and starting to actually speak that over ourselves. As well. You're not constantly calling ourselves, I am an addict. Well, if you believe you're an addict, then you're going to act like an addict, and you're going to be at war with yourself all the time. And who loses when you're at war with yourself? We do, so we've got to change our language that we're speaking over ourselves. Words have power, physically, emotionally, mentally, So, I had to throw that in there.
No, thank you for doing so, because, I've mentioned this in a few of my podcasts that I've had, that I no longer identify as an addict. That is not who I am anymore. Do I have challenges around this and have had challenges? Sure. The same way that I'm starting to get lines and wrinkles, but it's not who I am.
No, you're not, Hev. You look great.
You have to see me in person, but thank you, Shay. But it's what you said is so powerful and so true. So that's why it's really important that when we do have a challenge with XYZ and we're part of groups, that how are they identifying? Because the research is very strong and clear. People that we associate with, the 5 people we spend the most time with, and people that are part of our tribe, we are greatly influenced by, and we're going to follow, because we will do anything to belong. So if people are identifying as an addict, I remember there was a 12-step group I visited over the summer, and I knew after one meeting that, okay, I needed this many years ago. It was part of life-saving for me. And it's great for people that need that. But for me and where I was, because they all identified themselves as a food addict or a compulsive eater, I am not that anymore. I have not eaten compulsively or lapsed or binged or any of that in almost 6 years.
Yeah.
And I don't plan on doing that anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really important for me to identify as someone who has a healthy relationship with
That's
food
that's it.
and my mind and body.
That's it.
That's what's
That's it.
important for me.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
right.
so glad you brought that up because it wouldn't have been complete without us addressing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And also, Heather, just sorry, because I don't want to go on about this one, but again, it's coming back to you said a really key thing about that belonging. Who are my people? Belonging is one of our core human needs. We've got six
yeah,
core human needs: love, safety, belonging, purpose, certainty, freedom. Love, safety, and belonging are so central to our very being that
yes,
unconsciously we will behave and act like those, as you rightly said, because we want it's part of us is to belong. So yeah,
right.
100% agree.
Awesome. So, what is your approach to helping and supporting people in making changes and reaching their transformation goals?
Yes, love this question. So again, my approach is the whole person, so body, soul, spirit. I'm a big believer that everything is connected, all things matter, we're all unique. So in the early stages of when I'm journeying with someone, I predominantly focus on the core basics of blood sugar balance, physically regulating the body, high nutrient dense foods, bringing the body into a state of far greater regulation physically predominantly. That's not to say that we don't deeper dive into things emotional, mental, all that kind of thing. But if the body is in a far more regulated state and the body is far more energized, it then has the energy and the motivation to go deeper. So
Yes,
for me, predominantly, that's a really key start. Okay.
yes,
Um, yeah, and that's where the nervous system plays a huge role. You'll know this. The nervous system is massively intertwined. The vagus nerve, all of that with our digestion and our endocrine, our hormones, all of that. I mean, we haven't got time to go into all of that here, but yeah. So I start with physiological regulation, blood sugar balances, etc. And then frameworks. I do have an outline, but I still work with frameworks built on the unique story and the needs of the individual coming to me. I listen to the story. So yeah.
beautiful. I love that. And as I mentioned previously, and I know that's the keys to success right there, Shay. And
Sure.
that is why you have been successful with individuals and you've had wonderful testimonials based on the frameworks and how you honor and address the body and nervous system. When I changed this format, I changed it over the summer
Mm-hmm.
after being at Reframe. And I have to say, I have great success, way more success now doing it this way, where the nervous system needs to feel safe. It needs to have that
Totally.
message that is safe and regulated before
Yeah.
you can do any deep dive into beliefs and all of those. And it may take
Yeah.
3, 4,
Yeah.
5 sessions to get someone
Yes.
there, to be there,
Yeah.
because they've
Yeah.
been through so much and they have so much trauma in their body, or the physical ailments or whatever is going on, and getting them to that safe place,
Yeah.
which is actually, even for the facilitator as we are, important for
Mm-hmm.
us. And then it's so important for us to be regulated ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nervous systems talk to each other, they speak
Oh
to each
yes.
other. So if I'm dysregulated, how can I regulate someone else?
Yeah.
How are they going
100%.
to feel safe with me? And so that's
Yeah.
really important. So I may even
Yeah.
start with a lot of functional freeze work. I get a lot
Yes.
of people, I ascertain if someone is in functional freeze or are they in that sympathetic state.
Yeah.
And it's either one. That's what I
Yeah.
get. It's either one. And oftentimes lately, maybe due to the freezing weather that we have, I've had
Mm-hmm.
people signing up for sessions and they're in functional freeze right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
which we know
Yeah.
0-degree weather
Yeah.
sends the message to your nervous system, I'm in a danger state. So how
That's
can I
it. Yeah.
recommending this particular food or that or do that if they're in this state? It would make them completely shut down
Absolutely.
and
100%.
counterproductive. So,
Yeah. So good.
brilliant, brilliant,
Mm.
Shay. So I know some days are difficult. We have our own challenges and battles. What motivates you and keeps you going on those days?
Oh, yes. I wish I could bring my trampoline all the way from the UK. No. Um, yes. No, apart from great things like my forest bathing, walking in forest, but a really good question, actually, Heather. You know, we've got to have our own core non-negotiables. As you say, facilitators of this work, we are always growing and stretching. I love my clients because they teach me more than I probably teach them.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love them for it. They're
Yes.
keeping me growing and stretching. And so we've got to be people that put in the work. And so coming back to my core non-negotiables, because life is what happens when we're making other plans, right? So for me, I've had to identify my core non-negotiables, my basics, my sleep, my high nutrient dense food, my movement, my faith. Those are my core pillars. Learning to manage stealth expectations, like really dialoguing, listening to my emotions, understanding that they're messengers, they're indicators, they're not who I am, but being open and honest and real. And then most importantly of all, Heather, and I know you'll totally understand this, it's having an accountable place where I meet with a coach every single week, a life consultant every single week. In fact, I've got two that I meet consistently with in terms of that deeper work. And I have for years, and they stretch me, they grow me, they hold mirrors up, they
Hmm.
take me on journeys, so having that accountability. But you know what? Just enjoying the process and the journey, understanding that this too will pass.
Yes.
it
Yes.
This too will pass.
Yes. I love that. This is temporary. This is
Yeah.
temporary. And I know you have strong faith in God and have a relationship with Him. And
Hmm.
I do the same. I mean, there are times they're tough. And I
Yeah.
pray, I go to God, I talk with Him, I get in my Bible, my study. I have a couple of people that I talk to that keep me accountable, as you said, and keep me
Yeah.
growing and stretching, because that is so, I love that word you use. I always have, because that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're not growing, we're dying.
That's
So
it.
that's
Yeah.
growth is essential. And once we
That's it.
lean into that and see it as that this is what we need to be,
Yeah.
live our life's purpose,
That's
then
it.
and be the most joyful,
That's
it
it.
makes
Yeah.
everything worthwhile, doesn't it?
That's right. Growth is a sign of life.
That's
And
right.
if something's alive, it grows.
That's
And
right.
so yeah, let's be people full of life. We've been given
Yeah,
this life. Let's be people of life. And what does that look like?
exactly. I love it. So, what is something unique you bring to this field of addressing behavior?
Yeah, beautiful. Again, I've mentioned a little bit earlier on. So, one of my favorite mantras as well that I learned through my training with the Functional Nutrition Alliance. It's an incredible community there. Is everything is connected, all things matter, we're all unique. We cannot separate our body, our soul, our spirit. We can't separate the full body systems. Everything is connected, everything matters. And so for me, with all the different trainings, I feel so privileged, Heather, to have had all the different trainings. It feels like it's a good, well-rounded approach, the skills to be able to approach the individual holistically. When I sit with
Yeah.
a beautiful, precious human being in front of me, I'm sitting with, quite frankly, an immortal, precious human being, in my opinion, who has got a story, a body, a soul, a spirit, and being able to bring that approach, not just seeing one little part of the story, but looking at the bigger picture of the person, the
Mhm.
story. We can't separate it. We've got to listen to their story. We've got to listen to, and the approaches will be different for their physical person and for their emotional side, for their mental side, for their spiritual side. It'll all complement, but the approach is, again, back to frameworks, not protocols. So being able to take the person as a whole, and meet them at the levels that are needed for their different states and parts. As a whole, well-rounded approach.
Yes, you get it, Shay. You're just incredible. You're just probably, I'd have to say, of all the coaches I've known, you're definitely my favorite coach. And I tell you, when I ask that question, what is something unique you bring to this field, is you, my friend. It's you.
Oh.
You. Just everything about you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything about you, Shay. Seriously. But that's one of the reasons why, besides you being you and what you've done, you're my absolute favorite coach ever. But your approach is so comprehensive, because there's so many people that I work with and have worked with and worked for that are all about just cognitive. We're brains walking around on a stick, and we're not. No system ever works alone. No organ ever works alone, or gland. It is all together in a symbiotic fashion. Works. And it's like you mentioned, spirit, emotional, physical, all of it works together. You have to address all of it. And you do that, and you're very thorough with that. And one of the great things about it is you're very patient with the process. You respect and honor the person and the process of it. I know when I've worked with you, I've seen you work with others, you have a deep, profound respect for the person that you're working with, and you honor their journey.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that is very unique, probably the most unique that I've ever seen. So I just wanted to
That means a lot. Thank you. Because you know what it is, we get to honor the unique individual. And I recognize there's a beautiful person. And I think that's where my health and life coaching, my root cause trauma informed training, my, functional nutrition clinician side of stuff, all of that really meets the person where they need. It's not about me, it's about them. And I get to honor this person. It's a privilege that I get to hear their story and hold their hearts in my hands,
Yes, and that comes across, and it's so beautiful. What advice would you give others that are having a struggle with behavior change, or even a struggle with career path that they want to take?
Call Heather. Call my friend Heather. No. Well, that too, definitely. Oh, no. Serious answer now. For me, Heather, again, let's come back to that behaviors are just symptoms. They're just branches. And so often, we can end up in shame and blame, focusing on the symptom, focusing on the downstream issue, without remembering that we've actually got to go upstream to the root cause. Okay. And so being able to switch from judgment, self-judgment, to a journey of self-compassion, to a journey of curiosity, to a journey of safety. To heal, we've got to feel safe, as you said earlier. And one of my biggest changes that happened when I was able to switch from years of addictive behaviors and things was turning judgment into curiosity, understanding. When I understood what was going on in there and why, I was able to do something about it. I could take the blame away. That didn't mean that I don't take responsibility, taking blame off me, but being able to do something. And then being able to understand with someone, journeying with someone objectively, why I am presenting such and such, back to that identity. Why am I showing up as a person who XYZ does this, says this, believes that? And then remembering that consistency and honesty is key. Consistency, like I always say, it doesn't matter the size of the step. What matters is the consistency of the step. As long as we're moving, every step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. And then, to answer your career path question, I think a lot of our purpose lies in, what makes us tick and what makes us ticked off. What was our mess that we turn into our message, where that deepest grievance, where our deepest mess and victory lies. Often we just get to be half a step ahead and help pull others out of that place and be someone who can journey alongside them and say, I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, love that. I love that. And you are fantastic at building people up and helping them get there. So wonderful, Shay. This has been just amazing. What a blessing and a gift. Where can people find you and your giftedness on social media or website, or to sign up with you or learn more?
Sure. Oh, bless you. Thank you, Heather. Well, first of all, thank you for just having me here today. So, Instagram, I'm Shay L. Williams. That's my handle, at Shay L. Williams. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I'm under Shay Williams. I am part of another addiction recovery community called Real Food Recovery. So I do serve there as well, and I do some coaching there. Email. My email will be in my different links, but my email is shaylwilliams@gmail.com. So that's awesome. That's where you can get a hold of me. Even just to say hi, I would love that.
That's awesome. You're so kind and wonderful, Shay. So thank you. Well, this wraps up today's episode. It's been one of my favorites, I have to say. We got to meet an amazing health, life, and nutrition coach and friend, Shay Williams. She's just wonderful. She lives with passion and purpose, and she helps her clients do the same. We got to learn firsthand from her expertise about how behavior change is possible and how to live a fuller life. Remember, the journey of emotional mastery is just that, a journey. And by understanding the science of our brains and nervous systems and implementing these tools, we can navigate our emotions with grace and resilience. If you find you need more support or one-on-one coaching, please visit my website and fill out the contact info at heathermhewitt.com. And if you found this episode enlightening, please share it with someone else who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on your mental well-being. Remember to embrace the change and discover the beauty of